So first of all, thank you, the Center for Khmer Studies, for organizing this event, and thank you, Dr. Darith, for talk today on Cambodian history from Funan to today time, the current period. I'm very pleased to be a moderator of this event, of this talk, and let me introduce first myself a little bit. My name is Kai Duong, and I am a lecturer at History Department, Royal University of Phnom Penh, and also a PhD candidate at Bundeswehr University Munich in Germany. And today's session, we're gonna have Professor Dr. Darith talking about a history of Cambodia from Funan to modern time. And as he already introduced himself, that he will talk a long period about 2000 years, but we're gonna divide it into 3 parts. Somebody, you want to continue with your introduction first before I move on?
Okay, thank you, Duong. So our webinar today will be divided into 3 sections, which like focusing on different period of the Cambodia history from Chenla, from Funan to Chenla during the Angkor period and the post-Angkor period. And in between each session, all attendees will have like 10 minutes to ask the question to our speaker, and will be moderated by Mr. Dung Kai for that. And please be noted that during this presentation, all your microphone will be muted. So if you would like to ask any question afterward during the Q&A session, please leave your question in the Q&A box, or you can also leave it in the group chat via Zoom. And if you also would like to really interact directly with our speaker, you can also use the button or raise hand that you can raise hand, and then our moderator will call on your name and we will turn on your mic. And for those who joining us via Facebook Live, please, you can also leave your question as well during the Q&A session by putting the comment in the live video, and then we will bring all those questions to our moderator. So not to take so much time, I would like to give the floor to Dr. Darith to provide the presentation on the first part. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Samadi. Thank you again for the CKS for organizing this webinar. So now I would like to start my lecture. So this is the timeline of the history of Cambodia. On the left, you can see the prehistory or Neolithic period that started from very long period from like 70,000 BC to 0, and from the 1st to 6th century we call proto-history or Funan period. Then from 7th to 8th century we call Angkor or Chenla period. Then from 9th to 15th century we call Angkor period. Then the middle period from or post-Angkor period from 16th to 18th century, and from 19th century to present we call a modern period. So this is the map of Cambodia showing the red point about the prehistorical site in Cambodia. You can see a lot of red point in the northwest of Cambodia, like in Siem Reap and Battambang and Udong Mean Chhey. And on the north, we can see at Stung Treng, and on the east, southeast, we can see a lot of prehistorical site in Takeo, Preveng, and Kampong Cham, etc. So based on the excavation by the Cambodian and international team, we found a lot of prehistorical sites and some artifacts like that. So the prehistorical site that show the occupation of the people for the earlier time, like from 70,000 years, we found at Battambang province at Laang Spin site. That is the collaboration between the Ministry of Culture and Fine Art of Cambodia and the foreign institution. The Cambodia lived very long time based on the excavation at Laang Spin from 70,000 BP, and and at the time until the 0th century, people believe in animism. Until the Indianization, that means the refer to the historical spread of the Hinduism and Buddhism in Southeast Asia from approximately the early century of our Common Era. So the Indianization was whereby elements of the Indian culture were absorbed or chosen by the Cambodian people. The Cambodian respect the stone as a nectar, the ancestor spirit in the community. Similarly, between Cambodian and Indian culture, India respects stone in the shape of linga. So the Georgiades has remarked the Indian civilizing mission to Southeast Asia. So the process of Indianization made Cambodia and India share similarity. For example, carry good on the head, wore turban rather than straw hat, wore skirt rather than trouser, ate with the finger, like musical instrument, jewelry, and manuscript were introduced by Indian. Cattle racing in Cambodia had been introduced by Indian. So India provided Cambodia with a writing system made of poetry, Sanskrit language to write in a vocabulary of social hierarchy, Buddhism, idea of universal kingship, and new way of looking at politics, sociology, architecture, iconography, astrology, and artistic, etc. So without India, Angkor Wat would never have been built. But yet, Angkor was never as an Indian city. So Indian influence in Cambodia was not imposed by colonization or by force. Indian troops never invaded Cambodia. When Indians come with the fur and the adventurer, perhaps they were absorbed into the local population. And then ritual procedure in Cambodian royal palace show respect for the Cambodian Indian tradition. So not only contact with India from the early century, Cambodia also have connected with China, especially during the Three Kingdom period from approximately 220 to 280. You can see in the map there are three kingdoms. In Cambodia, we call Samkok. Samkok, I mean three kingdoms. So the kingdom of Wei, Su, and Vu. The Vu is located close to the sea. So it's easy to travel to Southeast Asia by ship. So Vu have connected with Cambodia during that period. So contact with China, the Chinese recorded Cambodia as Funan. As you can see, the Chinese character Funan means the pacified south from approximately 1 to 6th century. So Funan was the Chinese name of an ancient kingdom located around the Mekong Delta of the southern Cambodia and Vietnam present day. So two Chinese diplomats, Kang Tai and Zhu Ying, representing the Wu kingdom, came to Funan in the mid 3rd century and wrote about Funan. The Chinese sources, Funan established by the foreigner named Huntian and around the 1st century, but the archaeological evidence show that human settlement from the 4th century BC. Funan has its own international trade named Okao. Okao was an international trading port of Funan. Funan established a strong system of maritime trade between China and India from approximately the 1st to 4th century CE. From archaeological evidence at the Funan port, Roman coin, Chinese and Indian artifacts were found. Funan must have been a powerful trading state. So, however, Mallory believed that the port declined in importance in the 4th century. So, Angkor Borei was the capital of Funan, linked with the Okai by canal system. The Funan maritime trade declined when the maritime trade shifted to Sumatra during the rise of the Sriwijaya trade empire. The Funan were absorbed in the 6th century by another Khmer polity of the Chenla kingdom. So what is the exchange product during the Funan period? So the forest product and the precious metal from Cambodia for export include gold, elephant, ivory, rhinoceros horn, kingfisher, feather, cardamom, lacquer, and aromatic wood, etc. So the forest people probably travel considerable distances for the rich Okai port to change their product with gold and gold coin. So what is the tribute of Funan to China? The Funan sent tribute to Chinese emperors on an irregular basis between 253 to 519. So the Funan sent tribute to China in ideal occasion for encouraging trade or out-seeking Chinese help against their neighbor. This is a Chinese manuscript about Indianization at Funan. So when the kingdom were ruled by a Brahmin named Kaudinya, a spirit announced to him that he would be called upon to govern Funan. So he traveled there, and the people of Funan out to meet him and proclaim him king. He changed the institution to follow Indian model. He wanted his subjects to stop digging well and digging reservoir in the future. Several dozen families could then unite and use one of these in common. This is another Chinese manuscript. The king's dwelling had a double terrace on it. Palisades take the palace of wall in 45 places. The house are covered with leaves of a plant which grow on the edge of the sea. The leaves are 6 to 7 feet long and take the form of a fish. The king ride mounted on an elephant. His subjects are ugly and black. The hair is frizzy. They wear neither clothing nor shoe. For living, they cultivate the soil. They sow 1 year and reap for 3. So this is the Chinese manuscript about Cambodian during the Funan period. So these barbarians are not without their own history book. They even have a archive for their text. So Chinese a little bit look down Cambodia, call Cambodian as a barbarian. So this is the location of the Funan period. You can see the yellow circle. Yeah. So the capital located at Angkor Borei, and then the international trading port is at Takeo at the sea, near the sea. Excuse me, I would like to show this a little bit more. So this is a Funan period, yeah, and then the Chenla period you can see in the middle of Cambodia. And then the Angkor period, you can see the red color, yeah, that Angkor period. And then the post-Angkor period, like Longvek and Udong, you can see between the Chenla and Funan, yeah, the small circle. So this is the statue of Buddha and Vishnu, that's showing about the Buddhism and Hinduism after contacting with India from the first century of our common era. And this is the Angkor Borei in Takeo. That is the first city in Southeast Asia. They are dated approximately 400 BC to 550. So excuse me. So you can see the line here and below here. So that is the wall of the city. And the top we can see the river and some wall. So the city plan is not like Angkor, it's a square. But this period is it's not square yet. Yeah, this is the city wall. Yeah, you can see a city wall with the brick inside and the soil cover from outside. And then we can see some earthenware found from the site. This is the early temple in the Funan period. You can see especially Ashram Mahendraparavata temple on the left. That is the basalt stone temple. And this is the Phnom Penh temple on the right hand. You can see it was built in 11th century on the foundation of the Funan temple, Funan period temple.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. You have only 5 more minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this is the artifact from Angkor Borei, from Funan period. You can see the bronze artifact, stone artifact. Now I move to Chenla period from 6th to 8th century. So the Chenla period, the capital moved from Angkor Borei to middle Cambodia in Kampong Thom province and in Champasak in Laos. So there are 2 capitals of Chenla. So the ruler and capital of Chenla, the oldest Chinese text that mentioned Chenla was the annual of Sui dynasty, compiled by Wei Chen in 636, which gives the information that at the beginning of 7th century, Chenla were ruled by Chittasena and Ishanapura. The earliest known date of the reign of the Ishanapura is in 617, when he first sent envoys to Chinese court of the Sui. So the king is also known from his own inscription, one inside at Ishanapura, dated 627 AD. The other one at Khao Noi in Thailand, dated 637. So after the death of Jayavarman I, the turmoil came up on the kingdom, and at the start of the 8th century, the kingdom broke into many principalities. The reign of the region of Angkor were ruled by his daughter, Queen Jaya Devi, who complained in her Western Borei inscription, dated in 713. Based on the time history, tell us that after the end of the reign of the Chenla in 707, Chenla came to be divided into two realms, the Land Chenla and Water Chenla. The Land Chenla sent envoys to China in 717, and Land Chenla were located around Wat Phu area called Lingapura in Champasak province in Laos. And Water Chenla sent envoys to China after that. The Water Chenla capital is located in now in Kampong Thom province, Sambo Brikuk. During the 8th century, the naval state emerged into a strong empire called Java Empire. So the silent dynasty of the Java actively established control on Water Chenla, but the Land Chenla remained stable. So this is some image of the Water Chenla at Sambo Prikuk. You see the red point in the middle of Cambodia. Mostly the temple in Water Chenla capital were constructed by brick. As you can see the ruin there, mostly the brick tower are very big. Yeah. So this is the Lingapura, the highest linga on the top of mountain in the Wat Phu area. Linga means the symbol of man, and Parvata is mountain. Yeah, so this is the temple at Wat Phu area. Yeah. This is the view of Wat Phu from the temple. This is the Wat Phu temple, but the sandstone structure was built in Angkor period, not in Chenla period. This is the addition during the Angkor period. This is Wat Phu. Some Trinity God were carved on a natural rock. So this some animal were carved on the rock, natural rock. This is carving on the rock. So this is some photo of the landscape at in Champasak. So thank you very much. I want to close one session from Funan to Chenla period.
Thank you very much, Dr. Darith, for the presentation, which cover a long time in pre-history to Chenla history of Cambodia. And I think we get several questions. So first, I let the person who already raised hands in the beginning, Jasmine 123 already raised hand, and please raise your question, please. Jasmine is mute.
I would like to receive one by one question, not 2 or 3 questions. Just one.
Okay. So then if Jasmine in waiting, so I read the question from Aidang Kim. Aidang Kim have the question saying that given the location of Funan, would you say that Khmer Kampuchea crown in the modern day Vietnam are direct descendants of the Funan people? So this is the first question, please, Doctor.
Yeah, I think so because Okai was the international trading port of Funan period.
Okay, so very brief that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another question from Tan Cree on Facebook. Asked that the capital of Funan or a question and not Ba Phnom. So this is the question whether Ba Phnom or Angkor Borei is the capital city of Funan. Please, Doctor.
I think if we look at the remain at Angkor Borei, we can see the wall of the city with the moat around it, and the Phnom Da Temple and Ashram Maharasai Temple. I think it has evidence more than Ba Phnom that do not have a site remain like in Angkor Borei. I know some researchers still think that probably Ba Phnom also an important place, but I don't see any a lot of remain like Angkor Borei.
Thank you for your answer. Yeah. Let's go back to Jasmine. Jasmine, are you there now? Maybe not. Okay. So for those who want to speak directly to Dr. Darith, can raise your hand. But there is more question on the chat, on the question answer box here. Another question from Samantha. So the question is, was there a reason Cambodia adopt more Indian culture versus where Vietnam seemingly adopt more of Chinese culture? Doctor, could you please answer this?
Excuse me, come again, please.
It is about why Cambodia adopt more Indian culture while the Vietnamese adopt more of the Chinese cultures.
Yeah, I think for Cambodian, we adopt Indian culture, especially the writing and religion, yeah, and the way of building the temple. We adopt the Indian, and Vietnam, they adopt the Chinese culture because sometime during the early century. During the Han period, Vietnam was under the Chinese control. So probably they got influence from Chinese rather than India.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Okay, still more question coming up here. From Watana. What caused the fall of Funan?
The fall of Funan probably well, I think the change of the international trading port from Okai to Srivijaya Kingdom. And also for international politics, I think the Chenla Kingdom probably become stronger and attack Funan, and that is the reason why the Funan will fall.
So just connect with the fall of Funan created two Chenla. Is that correct? Or what is the connection between the end of Funan and the establishment of Chenla, Doctor?
Yeah, I think when Funan become weak and Chenla become strong, so the Chenla took all the territory of Funan and Chenla control over all over. Because I think before Angkor period, there are a lot of small state. Yeah, like Funan state, Chenla state, and probably many other states. But when one state becomes strong, can control other state. Until Angkor period, most of the states reunited and become Angkor or Khmer Empire.
Thank you. Thank you. I think because we don't have much time, let me select just one more question from Savun. The question is, do you have any book in English or French that would you recommend for us to read more about Cambodian history? So maybe only covering the history of pre-Angkor. What book that you think that fit the most to the reader?
Pre-Angkor?
Yeah, pre-Angkor period. Yeah.
Yeah, if you like to read the whole history of Cambodia, you can read the book David Chenla, History of Cambodia. Yeah, he wrote the whole history of Cambodia, from non to modern period. And for pre-Angkor book, I think they are not only book that wrote very specific about pre-Angkor, but mostly book write about Angkor period. But if you do research about the research paper, you can read the book that researched by Sambo Prikuk National Authority or by the Waseda University that conducted research at Sambo Prikuk. That's the book that you can study the pre-Angkor period.
Thank you for recommendation, Doctor. So because we still have two more sessions, Doctor, please you proceed with the second session on Cambodia during Angkor, and please could you keep only 10 minutes for this presentation, of let's say 15 minutes because we running out of time. So let's say 15 minutes, doctors.
I will try to skip very fast. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And sorry for those who raised question and haven't read yet. Hopefully we can raise that question at the end. Thank you, Doctor. Please proceed.
So yeah, Angkor period from 9th to 15th century. So the King Jayaman II from King Jayaman II marked the liberation of the Khmer people from the Java and beginning the Khmer Empire. So Jayaman II reunited the kingdom. The capital were moved to Mahendrapura on Kulen Mountain and later to Hariharalaya in Rulus. So he first started the Devaraja. Devaraja means the god king. So a Hindu ritual ceremony were confirmed, were performed on Kulen Mountain. So it means that to promote the king become like a god. So it is very powerful for the king that control the people when he become like a god. So this is the map showing about the temple and archaeological site in Cambodia. You can see a lot of red, that is the site. Yeah, for Angkor, you can see the yellow dot are the monument site. They are 634 built from 7th to 17th century. So this is the first site. This is the site on Pulen Mountain. We can see Linga, Thousand Linga, and a temple called Kraunamit. So the king tried to convert the natural water to holy water by curving a lot of linga on the riverbed. When the water flow over the linga, it becomes holy water, and the holy water from Pulen Mountain on the north flow to the Angkor area. So the Angkor area, the capital, used the holy water in the whole kingdom. So this is some other site on Pulen Mountain called Shrestapura. And this is a early temple in Angkor period, a lot of brick temple on Pulen Mountain. Yeah, so this is the Hariharalaya, when capital moved from Pulen to Relus. Yeah, so there are some temples were built. So I would like to clarify that when the king become a king, he have to do at least 3 tasks. One, he have to build temple for ancestor. So for example, Preku temple here were built for the king ancestor. And another, he had to build his own temple called Bakong temple. That is the mountain temple. Normally, the temple is built like the pyramid shape for himself. And another thing, he had to build a reservoir called Indratandaka. Yeah, you can see in the map the Barai. So that is the 3 things that the king had to do when he became a king. So this is a Preku temple. And this is a Bakong temple. And this is Yoshodharapura and Phnom Penh temple. So after the capital set up at Relus, so in 10th century, the king Yoshodharapura moved the capital from Relus to Angkor area. You can see he built a huge reservoir called Yoshodharapura and a temple on Phnom Penh here. That is the state temple because it's the pyramid state temple. This is Phnom Penh temple on Phnom Penh. And not only building temple, but the Cambodian at the time, of course, can produce a lot of ceramic. And you can see the green and brown clay ceramic. Yeah, so the ceramic produced into 2 phases. The phase 1 from 9 to 11 and phase 2 from 11 to 14th, 15th century. Yeah, so this is the kiln in phase 1. You can see the kiln structure and green glaze ceramic. And the phase 2, you can see the brown glaze ceramic, and the kiln are longer. So after that, from 928 to 44, the capital shift to Chok Gargyar on the northeast of Angkor, about 100 kilometers. So at Chok Gargyar, we can see the highest pyramid, and a reservoir called Roham. So the typical of a pyramid in Chok Gargyar is 7 tier, 7 story. And different from other, only like 3 or 5, but Chok Gargyar has 7 tier. This is a 7 tier pyramid of Chok Gargyar, and Prasad room in front of the Chok Gargyar that dedicated to ancestor and for himself, Chok Gargyar or Prasad Prang. Yeah, this is Prasad Prang at Chok Gargyar, and Prasad Krahom, and Prasad Pram below, Prasad Thom, and Prasad Krahom, and this is the Udong Mean Chhey that in the reservoir in the Royal Palace. This is Prasad Chan, and Prasad Bate Pichuan, and Prasad Leng, and this is a curving around the Pankana, And this is the giant Garuda from Kok displayed in National Museum in Cambodia. Yeah, what the special thing about Kok is make something big. Like inscription is very big, the statue also very big, the temple also very high. So that is the typical Kok style. So Kok will be now we prepare the Kok dossier for World Heritage Site. So I'm also involved with the writing of this dossier with colleagues. So yeah, as Kok is very famous, so some statues of Kok were stolen during the Civil War. So there are some statues were sold in USA, but the Cambodian government claimed that statue back to Cambodia. So after that, during more than 10 years, the capital moved back to Angkor area. So the Yi King Rajendra built the Praru and Nippon Temple. Yeah, those two temples are the step pyramid temple. This is a Praru temple, Nippon. And this is Bangkit Srai temple. It's not built by a king, but built by a guru of the king. And this is very typical temple that made of pink sandstone and with a very beautiful carving. And as you can see, this is very beautiful carving of the Srai temple. And from the 11th century, the Cambodia at the north also become very strong, and sometimes they challenge with the king in Angkor. So this is Prabhupada temple that built on North Angkor. Some image of the Prabhupada temple and some of the temple in the North Angkor, like Phimai and Phnom Rung and Phnom Penh, etc. Yeah, this is the road connected from Angkor capital to other provinces. Yeah, this is a Living Angkor Road project that is the research project with the Afro Authority and Thailand. So we can see the road from Angkor to other provinces, and yeah, Angkor were the capital and need the road to other provinces in order to control over long distance area. This is the distance from Angkor to other provinces. I cannot read the detail because we don't have much time. And this is the rest house, or this is the hospital in Angkor period that is very famous during the Angkor period. There are inscription mentioned about 102 hospitals built during the King Jayaman VII. So this is the hospital structure. This is the relief of the Yuan temple showing about the hospital's scene. And this is the stone brick. There are 32 stone bricks connected from Angkor to Phimai. Normally there are like hundreds of stone bricks all over the kingdom of Cambodia during that time. Yeah, this is the one of the short stone bridge. And this is the rest house. Actually, there are a lot of rest house, but we do not know exactly how many, the number of rest house. But the rest house from Angkor to Phimai, there are 17 listed at Rakhan inscription. So during our survey, we found all the 17 rest house along the road. So this is the structure of rest house. You can see some made of brick, some made of laterite, some made of sandstone. So rest house function is good function for the traveler along the road because it's set up along the road. Yeah, this is the location of the temple from Angkor to Phimai. Okay, so this is Yeah, Pribai to Angkor. So this is the 11th temple, 11th century temple, Bapun. Yeah. So during the 11th century, a huge reservoir was constructed, especially the Barai, Western Barai, 2.2 by 8 kilometers. And there are temple in the middle called Mebon, West Mebon. Yeah, this is very huge reservoir in Khmer history. Yeah, reservoir. So the King Suryavarman, during the 11th century, with the time of conflict, so only Suryavarman can reign from 1113 to 1149-50. He were the kingdom united internally and extended externally. So under his rule, the larger temple Angkor Wat was built in the period of approximately 37 years. Angkor Wat dedicated to Vishnu God. You can see, so I don't want to read this. So this is the Angkor Wat temple. Yeah, it is the largest temple in Cambodia. Yeah, so you can see it was built following the movement of the sun during the year. So you can see in March and September during the 21st or 22nd, you can see the sunrise rise above the central tower and very popular for tourists. And Naimutu King Jaiman VII, he reigned from 1181 to 1220. So he conquered the Cham and liberated the Cambodia from Cham. So in 1181, he get on the throne. So King Jaiman VII, he's not a Hindu, he's a Buddhist king. Yeah, he looked like a revolutionary one that changed from Hindu to Buddhism. So during that time, he built the Angkor Thom city 3 by 3 kilometers and Bayon Temple in the middle and many other temples. Like you can see, this is the south gate of Angkor Thom, and this is the north gate. This is the Bayon Temple, and this is the Royal Palace compound and outside. This is the road inside. So this is the Nippon Temple, also built during his reign. And Taprum Temple, built dedicated to his father. And Rakhan Temple, Taprum Temple built for dedicating his mother, and Rakhan for his father. And during the end of the 13th century, it looked like there are some reaction from the Hindu again. So there are some image of the Buddha were changed to a hermit or to Akara or to Linga. So, so after that, from approximately the 13th century, so the religion changed to Theravada. So you can see there are no more big monuments was built. So only a small monument like that, like Pali Lai. You can see the reclining Buddha. And also you can see the Western Prasad top at the west of Bayon Temple. That is small temple. So the Theravada build a small structure like that, especially built on the Hindu place, but attached with at the eastern part with the terrace and wooden structure covered with roof tile built attacked from the east. Yeah, this is the Theravada Buddhist structure like that. So yeah, so thank you very much. It's very fast from Angkor period. So as a time constraint, so I would like to stop the Angkor period now. If you have any question, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Darith, for your presentation on Angkor period. Yes, we don't have much time, but we have a lot of questions, and I think that's also interesting to get your answer to those questions. Since we don't have hand yet, so let me read the question from How Bind. It's a follow-up from the first session. He asked, why is most the temple during Funan and Chenla period were built by bridge and then material changed to stone in Angkor time? Any idea of the development of the tool for the construction? Similar question also raised by Julie Hawks. She asked, what were the temple used for and why were there so many? So this is the two questions. I think it linked together, and doctor can respond to the two. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the early temple in Funan and Chenla period are built of brick. Yeah, I think brick is the only material that easy to build and easy to make. And I think most of the civilization in the early period start to build temple with the brick. For example, like the temple in the Indus civilization, you can see they build temple and palace by brick, by brick too, not by stone yet for the beginning. I think Cambodia also probably start to build with the brick. And when the technology become more developed, and also the material in that place can easy to get, so I think they probably change from brick to stone. Like when capital moved to Angkor, we can see in Angkor area in the early 9th century, more of the temples still built in brick. But like temple at Reloof, Preco Temple and temple on Pulen Mountain, mostly those early temple built of brick. But later, when the technology and the way that they can cut the stone, like they can get iron to cut the stone, and the technology can transport stone. So step by step, they build with brick and stone, like a prayer roof in 10th century. So the big brick and stone. Yeah, and in 11th century, you can see more stone and laterai. And then in 12th century, you can see more of the temple built of sandstone completely, like Angkor Wat Temple and other temple in Angkor period. And later period, you can see Bayon mostly built of sandstone. Yeah. And why there are so many temples? Yeah, I think during approximately 9th to 6th century, it's about 600 years. So I think the capital also located around in Angkor area. I think one king, one generation by generation, they keep to build temple and temple for the ancestor and for the king himself. So that I think many temple was built for like 600 years. And not only temple built for ancestor and the king himself, but some kind of temple we can see built for infrastructure. So infrastructure like the hospital and the rest house. Yeah, I think that's why there are a lot of temples was built in Angkor period.
Thank you. We have 4 people raising hands now. Let me allow Jasmine. Please ask directly to Dr. Darith. Oh, again, can you hear or can you talk? You are muted, Jasmine. Okay, next, Eric.
Hello.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for this presentation and for taking my question. I have a question about Angkor, the main temple. There's a main chamber inside the main temple, the very middle of the structure. There have been documentaries and reports that the main structure is walled off. Like where there should be a door, there is a wall with four statues and carvings of Buddha on each side, so 4 of them. And I'm wondering if this is indeed a room and what is inside.
Actually, Angkor Wat and other temple built with like the well in the middle of the temple. And Angkor Wat temple probably built during the 12th century for housing Vishnu statue that now you can see they moved to the west gate of Angkor Wat temple called now Darith. And during the middle period, like from 16th, 17th century, so the Buddha, the Vishnu statue moved, and then the Buddha statue was built to block the 4 door. Yeah, during the 6th, 17th century. I'm not sure. I have to check the date, but yeah, they built the Buddha statue to block the door in later period, not the original one. So that is the answer to the question, or you have another question?
Eric, that's the answer, and if you have the follow up, you can have.
Thank you. That's amazing. I did not know that. What was the well used for?
Normally, it's not used for storing water, not for keeping water. That is the technique to build a temple that never put all the stone, never make a solid. They usually to keep the hole in the center. I think if we look at the belief, probably the temple was built following the Vastu Satra. So it looked like the temple looked like the human that have the hole inside, not solid.
Thank you. Thank Eric for question, and let's move on to another person. Chan Bun Mol Su. Please, could you ask directly to Dr. Eden?
ជំរាបសួរស្ដាប់ខ្ញុំបានទេ
បាទ
អរគុណខ្ញុំឈ្មោះច័ន្ទមុនមុលខ្ញុំនៅសហរដ្ឋ I'm going to ask in English. Well, my question is, who built the temple and how do we get so many people to build the temple? And I know I heard some controversy around that and said that they were slaves that built the temple. Like, what's your thoughts and opinions on that?
You ask me who built the temple?
Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot answer because many kings built the temple. So I think the king probably ordered the people to build the temple, and I think some slave probably also used to build the temple. For example, if we look at the inscription in Bayuan period during King Jaiman VII, we can see the Taprum temple was built, and some people, like some foreigner, like from Champa and from Myanmar, also involved with the preservation of that temple. So I think the king, the ruler probably mobilize people and slaves to build the temple.
Okay, thank you. That answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me take just one more question. I think here one chap probably also raised question in the question box. So
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So please read your question by yourself. Then.
Well, hello, Doctor. I would like to ask you about the King Jawaraman VII. Is there any information about losing him?
We do not know exactly. No document mentioned about his disappearance. But from the inscription, we know that when the king passed away, so the people who work at the temple, who build the temple, drop their tool and run away to meet their family. We just know that, but we don't know how he died and he have passed away. But we think that probably he died by disease because some of the statue in the period show about the leprosy king. Yeah. So probably he died of disease. We don't know when.
Just connect with the Jayavaraman VII. Two question has been brought is about changing the religions. Could you elaborate on how the Jayavaraman VII change the religions?
I think Cambodia adopt Hindu and Buddhism at the same time from the Funan period. But sometimes some king believe in Hindu, sometimes some king believe in Buddhism. Even in Angkor period, some king before Jayman VII also believe in Buddhism. I think not only Cambodia at the time, we can see the change from outside, like from Sri Lanka and Myanmar through Myanmar and Sri Lanka. We can see the Buddhism become spread. Yeah. So I think maybe King Jayman VII also changed following the not only internal but also influenced with the internal issue also.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. We still have one more session and we actually have a lot of questions, but I'm apologize that I cannot allow or read all your questions, and thank you for raising those questions too. So let's move on to the next session, Doctor. Please proceed to your presentation on post-Angkor period, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. So post-Angkor period from 15th to 18th century, and the capital moved from Angkor to the south. I mean to Phnom Penh and somewhere around Phnom Penh like Udong and Longvek. So the post-Angkor considered as the dark period of the Cambodian history because the capital had been moved and their relation with the international country that involved and make Cambodia Cambodia at that time become like very dark age. So even the capital moved to the south to Phnom Penh, but still some people live in Angkor, but not the capital, but still people live in Angkor. So sometimes they convert the temple from the Hindu to Buddhist temple, like this Bapun temple was built in 11th century, but during the post-Angkor period, they convert from the Hindu temple to Buddhist temple by dismantle the stone to make a very large reclining Buddha at the back of the Bapun temple. And for Angkor Wat, a lot of Buddha was brought to Angkor Wat. Originally, Angkor Wat was built as a Hindu temple, but when the religion changed to Theravada Buddhism, so many Buddha image or statue were brought to store to raise at Angkor Wat temple, like thousands of Buddha. So one gallery at Angkor Wat called 1000 Buddha Gallery, or Khmer we call a Prepon. So that means thousands of Buddha was moved and installed there. So not only the statue, but also the inscription, we can see there are around 40 inscriptions at Angkor Wat were written on the pillar. So it mentioned about the Theravada Buddhism in Angkor period. Yeah, the writing is from 16th to 18th century. And not only Cambodian, but also we can see other inscriptions like Thai inscription below, and Myanmar inscription, Chinese inscription, and Japanese inscription. Like those inscriptions were written from 17th to 20th to early 20th century. So this is the Angkor Wat during the 19th century. You can see a lot of trees because Angkor Wat was abandoned at the capital, so there are lack of maintenance. So this is a Longvek period from 1528 to 1618. So the capital moved from Phnom Penh to Longvek and Udong. You can see it close to each other, Longvek and Udong. Yeah, this is Longvek and Udong. So Longvek became the nation capital in the 16th century after the civil war between the Slackon and King Ong Chan. After Ong Chan victory, he became the new king of Cambodia. So the King Ong Chan, he moved the capital from Phnom Penh to Longvek in 1528. So in 1593, the King Santa asked the Spanish governor of the Philippines for aid for protect the invasion of the Siam. So he promised to convert to Christianity. Yeah, because the Siam planned to attack Longvek of Cambodia. So in 1594, the Siam captured Longvek because the Spanish governor in Philippines cannot come on time. So until 1597, the Spanish liberate the Cambodia from the Siam and placed one of the Sata's son on the throne. So the product trade in Longvek include the precious stone, metal, silk, cotton, incense, ivory, lacquer, livestock, and rhinoceros horn. So Longvek contains flourishing foreign trading community of Chinese, Indonesia, Malaysia, Japanese, Arab, Spain, Portuguese. So they were joined later in the century by the English and Dutch. So that is the connection with Longvek and outsider during the maritime trade. So this is the old map of Longvek that was drawn by the European. So you can see the Longvek with the tree around the city, and so we think that probably it is a bamboo tree based on the legend of Brakku Brakkau, that Longvek plant a lot of bamboo tree to protect the city. And Udong period from 16th to 18th century, from 1618 to 1866. So the historical period that followed, Cambodia became the front in the power struggle between its two increasingly powerful neighbors, Siam and Vietnam, during that period. So in 1618, the capital was once again relocated and was moved to Udong by the king Jayachar II. So Udong is a town situated in the northwest part of Phnom Penh city. And the town is located on the top of Phnom Udong, about 20 kilometers west of Phnom Penh. The mountain itself is formed from the southeast to northeast with a low saddle in the middle. So this is the stupa of the King Ong Duong at Udong. So you can see this is the different between the Hindu and Buddhist. You can see in Angkor, the Hindu temple, we can see Angkor Wat is very huge and different structure like that. So this is the stupa for the Buddhist. We can see the structure like that. So it built of brick and stucco cover over the brick. So this is the change of Hindu to Theravada Buddhism. And we also can see the weakness in Cambodian history. Yeah, this is some stupa in Udong. And then the capital moved to Phnom Penh. In 1866, Udong was abandoned by the King Rodom I. So he take the royal court along with him to the current capital in Phnom Penh. Yeah, so this is Phnom Penh. So the history of Phnom Penh, there are two times. Yeah, for the first time from 1432 to 1528, Phnom Penh was the capital one time, and then the King Ong Chan moved the capital to Longvek, and then another king moved to Udong, and then the capital returned to Phnom Penh again in 1866 until present. So this is some image of the Wat Phnom. You can see Wat Phnom. This is the stupa of the king. I forgot the name. King Punyit, yeah, Punyit, that moved the capital from Angkor to Phnom Penh at the first time. And this is the pagoda that built in front of the, built at the east of Wat Phnom, built at the east of stupa. And below is the Royal Palace in Phnom Penh, you can see, and Phnom Penh National Museum, that is the modern architecture. Yeah, this Phnom Penh city nowadays. So thank you very much. I do not have much to talk about the modern history. Yeah. So I would like to stop now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Dr. Yederit. I think we still have a lot more questions, and the participants are really interested in this kind of presentation. So please raise your hand if you want to talk directly to Dr. Yederit, and I then will take questions from the chat. So let's give. Okay, Eric, you have a question, please.
Hi, thank you again. I have a more general question about the empires. I'm not sure which time period this refers to. I'm just curious, what was the largest extent of the Khmer Empire at any point during its history? Like from which points until which did it spread?
Doctor, can you get the question?
Yeah, what the question?
Eric, can you do it again, please?
Sure. I'm not sure what time period this question would refer to, but I've heard mixed reports of the size of the Khmer Empire at its largest. So I want to hear it from an expert. What was the largest expanse of the Khmer Empire at any point during its history?
The largest of the expansion of the Khmer Empire?
Yes, at any point.
Yeah, I think the largest expansion of the Khmer Empire is in Angkor period. Yeah. During the King Jayavarman VII, we can see the expansion of the Khmer Empire, the north to China, the south to the west to Myanmar, the south to Malay, and the east to Champa and Vietnam.
Other question from Mini Ainge asks, why did the city capital keep changing during 1432, 1528, and 1866 to the present, so to the present day? So it's how it keep changing after, during and after Angkor.
Yeah, I think after Angkor period, the Cambodian have a lot of internal problem and also external problem. Internal problem with the family, the king family, like the war between Saigon and Ang Chan. So after that, the capital moved from Phnom Penh to Longvek. And then I think from Longvek to Udong, I do not know really about the reason, but yeah, I think probably the desire, the king also would like to move the capital for his own decision. But I do not know really about the reason, because Phnom Penh, Udong, and Longvek is not so far, about 25 kilometers.
Yeah. So taking this opportunity, I would like to ask a question, just follow up. Doctor, you talking about Longvek and Udong, and I wonder why these two periods kind of overlapping in terms of its name and its location. For example, the name of Longvek still used during the Udongs, for example, and it very close to each other. Yeah. So how could you really divide between the two periods?
Really divide between two periods. That is from the chronology. We divide from the chronology, the Pungsavada chronology. So because these two places is not so far. So, but officially the chronology mentioned about the dead and the king that moved capital from Longvek to Udong. So for me, I do not have any idea because my specialize is in Angkor period. So I'm not research very detailed about the post Angkor period, especially the Longvek and Udong. So I follow the chronological the Robaksat.
Yeah, thank you.
Paper I just follow. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Let me take question from Do Ramon, who asked, who named those period Funan, Chenla, Angkor? And similar question also asked by Songwana, asked, what does the name of Funan mean? Yeah.
The name of Funan means if we look at the Chinese character, it means the pacified south. The Chinese record the country following the geography. They think that they know that Cambodia is located at the south of China, and Vietnam also located at the south of China. So if we look at the Chinese character, it means south, yeah, south of China. But the Chinese call Cambodian Funan, and they call call Vietnamese call Annam. Nam and Non the same, south of China. So it refers to the location of China with those countries, the south of China. So Funan, I think it's not mean Phnom at all. So the French scholar advanced theory that Funan probably come from the Khmer word Phnom. But if we look at the kanji, it's not Chinese character. It's not really mountain. It show about the geological region rather than Phnom. And this is the meaning of Funan. And who named the Funan, Chenla, and Angkor? I think the Funan and Chenla were named by Chinese. It's not named by Cambodian. Based on the Chinese record about Cambodia, because Cambodia have a contact with China from the middle of 3rd century. So they call Cambodian Funan and Chenla. And Angkor period, I think it named by the scholar that know that a lot of temples were built in Angkor, and then that's why they call Angkor period.
Thank you. Thank you. Go back a little bit to pre-Angkor. Main Kung asked the question, what culture or civilization did Khmer have before coming of Indian civilization? So
yeah, like I mentioned earlier, before Indianization, Cambodia was believe in ancestor, local spirit like Nectar, and mostly animism, no religion yet, no Buddhism, no Hinduism yet, the animism, believe in nature and ancestor.
Thank you. Anyone want to have the direct question to Dr. Please raise your hand. We'll have 2 more questions, but I will keep reading the question from the question and answer box. A similar question here, question from Nukui. What is the exact reason why King Punyit moved his capital city to the central of Cambodia?
Yeah, I think the situation in that time, the King Punyit reigned in Angkor Thom city, and at the west, at the west, we call Ayutthaya. Yeah, Ayutthaya at the time, I think it's still Khmer. Here I believe in Professor Michael Wiggery, who do research on the chronology of the Cambodia and Thailand. So I think Ayutthaya is still Cambodia during the 15th century. And based on the Chinese envoy, Kieu Tak Wan, came to Cambodia during 1297. He mentioned that there are war between Cambodia and Sham, but he think that it's not real war between Cambodia and Thailand. It did the war between two Cambodians, one in Angkor and one in Ayutthaya, because Ayutthaya is the international trading port of the Angkor Empire, and Angkor was only the ruling or just the reigning, only the capital. So the capital and the international trading port challenge each other. Yeah. So that's why I think the two Khmer in Ayutthaya and Angkor is not get along very well. So probably the king in Angkor lost the international trading port, lost the international connection with foreigner for business. That's why I think the king Punyit moved to Phnom Penh to find the place that close to the sea. Yeah. So that's why he moved to Phnom Penh, because Phnom Penh and Okao, yeah, it close. They can still use the ancient connection with the foreigner. That's why he moved to Phnom Penh and Udong and Longvek to have to find the connection for business with the foreigner, because in Ayutthaya they already lost, because they are fighting between Cambodia in Angkor and Ayutthaya already. So they find a new way to contact with foreigner.
Yep.
Thank
you. Yeah, we almost running out of time. Let me take one question from our guest who raised your hand. So please ask the question directly to Dr. Darith.
Hi, Doctor. This is Alkesh Javeri. I just wanted to know, are there any evidences in Cambodia except Angkor Wat of Lakshmi or Gaja Lakshmi? Or have you anywhere found those motifs around except Angkor Wat?
What is the motive?
There's a Gaja Lakshmi, the Lakshmi with two elephants pouring water on her.
The eastern gate of Israel, the Gaja Lakshmi.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is one in Angkor Wat, but except that there are any evidences around in Cambodia, Vietnam, and other places.
Oh, you mean except Angkor area, right?
Yeah.
If there are any Gaja Lakshmi. So I'm not sure about it because I mostly working in Angkor area. I don't know. I found that only at Angkor by the Gaja Lakshmi.
Because one I saw is in Angkor Wat, but I haven't seen any else. So if anybody or the student finds it, please let me know.
Thank you. I will let you know when we find other places.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Darith, for your presentation, a long presentation, and answer many questions from our participant. And thank you all participants for participate in this talk. And I can see that you have a lot more questions to be discussed, but we don't have much time to do it. And we hope that we will have other session organized by the Center for Khmer Study. So before the session, the talk come to the close, I would like to give the floor to Center for Khmer Study to close the session. Please, Bong somebody.
Thank you so much for all the attendee and for staying with us until the last minute. And we are sorry that we have to go 10 minutes over our schedule, but in the same time also apologize for all the questions that come into us through Facebook Live and also on Zoom. I can see that there are about 30 more questions remaining, but because of the time constraint, we could not go to address all the questions, but I hope that you can join us again next time when we invite the Darith to provide other presentation on the different topic, because this would be the first one, but we will have 2 more questions that Dr. Darith is interested to provide in the future with the Center for Khmer Study. So before closing our webinar today, please do not forget to fill in the survey that will pop up at the end of the webinar. And again, thank you so much for joining us. And please be informed that we will have another webinar on 25th February, which coming soon. And the detailed information of the webinar will be announced on our website and also on our Facebook page. If you haven't followed us yet, please do so that you can get all the information updated about the opportunity and also about the event coming within the CKS as well. So at the end, thank you so much and have a very wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.